It's a very, very difficult search, isn't it, of a river?
Absolutely, yes. It's probably the most difficult environment in which to search. There's nil visibility, we're in really cold conditions, and there's moving water with the amount of rain there's been recently that's moving at pace, so that will move things around. There's a lot of debris in the water. Incredibly difficult. So I don't think it's an unreasonable length of time to have taken to have found this body.
Been convinced almost from day one that she had entered the river. I wonder why they would have been so convinced of that.
Well, the location that she was last seen, the clothing that was found close to the water, it made it the primary search area, which had to be either found to be the right place or eliminated. And with any search, the sooner you start, the better it is. So, Norfolk Police did quite rightly say that they were open to other ideas. Their investigation was looking at other avenues. Obviously, with the search, that's a very high-profile activity. The other activities, searching the CCTV, looking for witnesses, searching for other clues, is much less of a more of a low-profile activity and doesn't attract so much attention. So everyone focuses on the search.
Charlie, police say that the force remains open-minded about the circumstances of Gaynor's disappearance, and this is still a missing person investigation. Do you think there will be more clarity in the days ahead, and will it be made public?
Well, it's difficult to tell what information may or may not be out there. I mean, clearly, it is important to keep an open mind. Everyone focuses on the main hypothesis of having gone into water, but how did she get there? What are the circumstances surrounding it? So they will be working very hard to understand Gaynor and her circumstances and her background, looking for any information which can point them towards the reason why she went in the water. Was it voluntary? They say they've ruled out third parties, but clearly they would like to know as much as possible, and I'm sure that that information will be put into public domain at an appropriate time.
And that's interesting too, isn't it? Because this case appears to have been followed in a very different way from the last missing mum, and that was Nicola Bulley, when the press were almost given too much information, and also then social media started to load in on their various theories, and it all became hugely distasteful. In this case, Norwich Police seem to have kept a lid on it, haven't they?
Yes. Was it the police keeping the lid on it, or was it the profile of the case that attracted a different level of attention? These things are very complex and nuanced. Every case is different. I think it's wrong to make comparisons on a case-by-case basis, although there are obvious similarities between the two cases. But the circumstances, the terrain, and a lot of the information was different. And where Gaynor went missing, there was opportunity to look at a lot more CCTV, a lot more witnesses, whereas the Lancashire location was much more remote and harder to find immediate information like that. So they're different, and both have been resolved, and I wouldn't like to make a sort of comparison between the two cases.
I think police in Norwich did consult their counterparts in the northwest. Does that suggest then that there are lessons that could have been learnt from what happened with Nicola Bulley's disappearance here?
Lessons can be learnt from every single case. Everything is different. We're constantly learning and developing, and there should always be an open mind to learning from previous experience. And always police forces link together in these ways to look at cases, to look at what went right, what went wrong, what can be done better. That's a constantly evolving process.
While we have you, can I just ask you about this extraordinary case of the young missing boy, Alex Batty, who has turned up 5 years later, wandering around trying to find his way home to Oldham. And it was just extraordinary that, Interpol have been looking for him. His Greater Manchester Police started to look for him. What do you make of the fact that he could go missing for 5 years and then he wasn't actually found? He gave himself in France, and he hadn't gone missing at all. He'd sort of been off with his mother.
Well, yes, it is a very interesting case and fascinating. There aren't many that happen like this, although there are some that have been missing for much, much longer than turn up. It would, not knowing the circumstances in intimate detail, it's hard to say, but it does look rather like an international parental abduction case, because the custody was with the grandmother. She had the lawful custody, and it seems that he was taken by his mother and grandfather, or retained out of the country, which is a slightly separate offence. And what's unusual is that he's been, from that young age, with them for so long, and suddenly decided, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to make my own life, which is brilliant. And it smacks of him being in a much more capable position of dealing with it, whereas some children in these situations, and they're not that uncommon, become so brainwashed by the other parent that they don't really know what to do and don't understand what alternatives there are.